Hi, welcome to this channel on magnetic energy technology principles applications. This video is about proton and electron decay. This is highly unconventional information. There are top secret labs around the world, mostly government and sponsored, who have this type of technology and follow very similar models to the model that I talk about on this channel. And over time, they slowly release that information. They have the technology to back up this model, along with, there are some private labs as well, but mostly government sponsored, and they have the technology. They have these things that are completely different than the conventional models that are followed by scientists around the world and taught in universities and everything. And proton and electron decay is one of these classic areas in physics that when you are following a flawed model that really essentially all of our scientific community is following, you come up with these things that just put you up against these brick walls that they just can't break through. And one of those is this understanding of protons and electrons. And I'm using conventional terminology even though it doesn't really fit in this model, but it just makes it easier to talk about. And so it's just, they're following these ideas, and dark matter and dark energy fall into this whole trap as well as gravity. And by the way, a physicist just came out with a study saying gravity doesn't have to be dependent on mass, which is of course part of this model that gravity is not a function of mass. But in the proton and electron decay thing, it's like, oh my God, if we could just see the decay of protons and electrons, it would back up Einstein's theory, it would back up the classic model, it would back up our scientific models of the universe. And of course, they're not seeing decay in protons and electrons, and even the math and everything that they've calculated. It's just a ridiculous number of years, billions and billions and trillions of years, and there's still no proton decay predicted. So the thing is, in this model, all of those, if you want to call them the atomic components or protons, electrons, neutrons, whatever it is, however you want to label those, and the subatomic components or the quantum components, they're all dependent upon this flow of etheric energy through them, this some sort of, if you don't like the word etheric, don't call it that, but some sort of flow of energy through those atomic structures, or those, what we would call those molecular structure systems, or energetic structures. There's always a flow of energy through them that sustains them, that keeps them going. And so they're not on their own. There's no such thing as isolated systems. And so, wow, protons and electrons aren't decaying, even though they're supposed to be isolated. And how are they not decaying? And how is that even possible? Well, it's possible because there's a flow of energy through them at all times, and that is what sustains them. That is what keeps them going. And you could say it's part of the quark system, or however you want to say it. It doesn't matter, really. It just, the idea, though, that everything's an open system and that there's energy flowing through everything, and there's technology in top secret labs that completely back this up. So like when they create a vortex, a magnetic vortex, a spinning, pulsing magnetic vortex that creates tremendous pressure, magnetic pressure, you get the appearance of instantaneous proton and electron decay in these types of systems. And that's part of how the technology can break down matter instantaneously and break apart molecular structures instantaneously. Like, for example, in the video I talked about how you can use this technology to break down garbage around the world. Now, the reason they won't release that, of course, at this point is because it's so dangerous to be able to break down matter instantaneously, because that could be weaponized instantly. And so it's very important that they keep that technology under wraps. But as they slowly release the ideas and the theoretical concepts that start to break down the Einsteinian model and get us to rethink the universe, and I mean, I don't call it quantum foam if you want, call it whatever you want, but there's energy flowing through every system in the universe down to the subatomic and subatomic levels, and that energy is what sustains everything, and it flows through on a tract, and it flows through and creates a pressure system in every system. And that is, when you cut off that flow, everything starts to decay immediately. And so the technology, some of it will enhance that flow and then pulse it and create the effect. Some of it is just simply cutting off that etheric neutral flow, and that instantly starts creating proton decay or electron decay. And all in this model, of course, all protons, all electrons are not considered elemental by any means. They are fully composed of core structures and atomic core structures and subatomic core structures that go on to a nearly infinitely deep level. That encoding is what really serves their ultimate purpose. So the technology that does all of that is obviously under wraps right now, and it's being highly guarded. And it's anytime an inventor comes out with it or demonstrates it, God, they're like dead in a week. But the point is, though, that when you have a scientific model that does not accurately represent how the universe actually functions, yes, it may have some mathematical backing, which is cool, but it doesn't accurately represent reality. You end up creating all of these dichotomies and all of these dead ends in the theory that you just can't find answers for. And that's why top secret labs are so important, and their transfer of information to universities is so important, because they're working with technology that dismantles the conventional model and reveals what's actually happening in the universe and how our universe functions. And so this is to dismantle this whole idea of proton and electron decay, and why it doesn't decay, and why the universe is essentially an eternal system that does not ever really decay. It's constantly being renewed, and it's being renewed by the energy pressure that flows through it at all times. This is really fundamental because it also reaches back in time, even though there's no such thing as time, especially in this model, and with the technology that they work on, and they will demonstrate that over and over and over and begin to release more of that. But it goes back in time and says the Big Bang is a completely irrational, crazy idea that is not supported by the new physics or the etheric physics or whatever they're going to call it, the magnetic physics model or the neutral magnetic energy model. And so whatever it ends up being, it'll absolutely do away with the Big Bang. It'll do away with all of that, because you start to see that, holy crap, the universe really is eternal in nature down to the subatomic level, and this energy pressure flow that keeps everything going, and it sustains us and sustains multiple dimensions. That's really the key to all of this, and working with that energy and understanding it and the flow of it. And yes, it's predominantly neutral. In this model, nothing's 100% neutral. Everything has some sort of encoding or some sort of polarizing factor, because that gives it massive mobility and power and the ability to create tremendous pressure in the system. But so please continue to send in questions about different areas of physics and how this model might relate to them, how they will be explained, and expect in the next few years more and more releases of contradictory information to the conventional models as we start to unravel and really release new technology and release new ideas of how the universe is actually functioning. Thank you for your questions, and I'll see you again next time.